There's one particular, almost insignificant statue that's tucked away in a corner, and it's white alabaster, and it's this absolutely pristine visage of a young child. And I swear, when I go there, I stand there for an hour in amazement at the life that was brought out of the stone. And I want to just delve into that beauty, and that's what beauty for me. That's what beauty incites for me. So the musical phrase that is the basis of the music for beauty, this movement, actually comes from the third movement, a moment in the music that is highlighted, that is suddenly there's a spotlight that comes down on this music because there's been loud music before it and loud music that comes after it. But in this very quiet, the chorus says, "For the sake of peace, we must heal the world." And that is the basis of the music that I wrote, that I used for the second movement, Beauty. So now, in mentioning the third movement, that is Devotion. This is actually the music that I wrote first. I knew that I would like to have chorus chorus sing an anthem of some sort of community gathering, that sort of thing. So finding a text, what text is going to reflect devotion? So as it turns out, in Bernstein's first and third symphony, he uses Hebrew text. And I know in my discussions with Bernstein, the language of Hebrew felt very close. He felt very close to it. I have come across actually arrangements that he did when he was at a camp as a young man, doing choral arrangements of Israeli songs, folk songs, and it would be a tribute to him in a way, and honest within my own background, to write something that used a Hebrew text. So the prayer that I used at the beginning is the Va'anachnu, which is part of the High Holy Day services, in which the congregants are expressing a certain kind of it's a bowing prayer. It's a prayer of is the word genuflection? Is that?
Yeah.
And it is a prayer acknowledging that there is a higher power beyond us. So with that, the music that I wrote also has this gesture of rising and falling, acknowledgement and falling. Va'anachnu korim, va'anachnu korim. So it has this up and this down, and that's what goes on with that.
And there's an extra beat in there for the bow, which is interesting because until Lucas and I heard this yesterday, I was like, well, look, this is beautiful, da-da-dee-da-dee-da. But I'm like, why is the meter this way? And it's so in addition to the poetry of the language, there needs to be an extra beat so you can actually feel that, and you can anticipate that.
Right, and without
that
rushing.
humbling, beautiful gesture, which is a beautiful preparation kind of gesture for prayer.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. And without rushing, because if I didn't put that in there,
Right.
Va'anachnu korim,
Yeah,
you're
then
rushing.
it's a song.
Yeah.
Rather than, it's awesome.
So it really, it's a prayer in that way. Thank you for picking up on that. He's good. I know.
I'm curious.
The last part of the symphony, the third movement, there's a phrase that you might have heard. It's tikkun olam, which means heal the world. It is derived from a longer sentence, Aleinu litaken et ha'olam, essentially we must repair the world. The Hebrew language is really extraordinary. And if, do any of you know the Hebrew at all? Anybody? So, just in a nutshell, first, it's a remarkable thing that this ancient language, which had been dead, has been revived, and it is a living language that evolves now. It's remarkable to me. Almost every single word is based on a root, a shoresh, of 3 letters. And if you look in the Torah, you'll see that you see consonants, and they're not vowel sounds. The vowel sounds are little dots and squigglies that you find below and above those main letters. A lot of the expression of Hebrew is done in context of other things. And that's why you get rabbis discussing, well, was it meant to be this word in this way or this connotation, because there's room for discussion. And just to give you 2 examples of the beauty of the evolution of this language. Shin, Lamed, Mem. Think of these sounds. Sh, L, M. Sh, L. What does that sound like? Shalom. You know it's a shalom, right? Okay, so you know that word shalom to mean hello, goodbye, peace, means all kinds of things. Well, Shin, Lamed, Mem, in its first version, is not shalom, but shalem. And shalem means whole. So here's the beauty in it. Through the state of being whole, we get peace. When we're fractured, we don't get peace. So it's remarkable, these underlying, you know the word Hebrew. Hebrew is an anglicization of the Hebrew word, ivrit. Now ivrit, what does this come from? Why, how is it that people will call themselves this particular thing? Before Moses, before the plagues, the Israelites were called the Israelites, and they were called the Galut, and they were exiled. They didn't have necessarily a name. But when the plague happened, to mark the doors, so that their firstborn would not be slain, so the angel of death would pass over. So the verb to pass over is la'avor, to pass over. So the Hebrews, the Ivrim, are the people that were passed over. And that's where Ivrit, or Hebrew, comes from. Everything has, it's all rooted in actual meaning. It's not just random sounds. And everything that the chorus then sings has just the touching of it is so connected to the earth in mystical ways. So the phrase "Letaken et haolam" does not come from. It comes from the liturgy in the High Holy Days, but there's not actually a poem of Tikkun Olam. And Tikkun Olam, I mentioned yesterday via Skype that unfortunately the phrase Tikkun Olam has kind of become the kumbaya of the Jewish faith, in not a very good way. That people say, okay, let's Tikkun Olam, let's heal the world, okay, everybody. But the essence of it is sincere. So to bring this phrase back and own it, I couldn't find any actual text that surrounded Tikkun Olam, so I wrote it. And I wrote a whole poem in English that is that basically says, for the sake of our land, for the sake of our water, for the sake of our earth, Tikkun Olam. For the sake of our communities, for the sake of our homes, for the sake of our earth, Tikkun Olam. For the sake of our sons, for the sake of our daughters, for the sake of et cetera, et cetera. And it's our mothers, our fathers, and it goes to for the sake of our joy, for the sake of our love. And there's a moment in there where the chorus starts intoning Lama'an la'ahava, Lama'an, for the sake of la'ahava, of love, ha'ava, and they're saying for love, for love, for love. And it's just like this huge moment. For the sake of love, we must do what we can to repair the world. And that basically takes us all the way through until the end, and we say, for the sake of our souls, for the sake of our, we must heal the world. And my hope is that this message is something that communicates through the music. It's definitely been a stretch for me compositionally, and what I always find interesting is that the pieces that you think you're writing at the beginning 2 years ago end up being something very different.
And it's good to let them.
Yes.
I think you can sometimes hear when somebody has stuck to their plan. You know, happy accidents and inspiration are that voice we should listen to.
Yes.
And some people aren't as good at listening to that, so that's interesting to say that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you or mention to you, one of the books that was, when I was did my undergraduate degree, I was